But again, I think Lambo's just been on the up and up, and it's kind of been that way for a long time now. And he's really kind of fighting with the laser for who is the third best Zerg in Europe.
In the bottom right side of Cosmic Sapphire, we're looking at the main base of that Polish veteran, still young and full of life as he's only 28. This is Team Liquid's MaNa.
How old was he when he came second in that DreamHack to Nama? That's actually... He must have been like 17, 16 or something. That's ridiculous. Anyhow, spawning over in the top left, Flame Team Shopify, it is Lambo.
Twitch chat apparently went 76% for Lambo. That actually means that a lot of you guys out there still believe in that old Polish dog, MaNa. Well, I call him old, he's still young. I don't know, I'm just confused, guys. Can't let it go. But yeah, 24% of you guys out there believing in what I would definitely classify as an upset here, because MaNa is someone who makes it out of the groups, obviously, sometimes, not always. Lambo, I think he missed out on playoffs one season. That's one that he's probably still very upset over. Couldn't believe it. It was just one of these series where, like, once things started going wrong, I think everything went wrong. I believe he lost to Milky Cow and Hellraiser back then. At least one of those two. That just wasn't his season, but lately, Lambo, especially since he joined the Shopify Rebellion, it feels like that is really giving him that comfort to know that what he's doing in his life and in this phase of his career is right. Things are going well. He loves to stream, loves to hang out with the boys, watches everything in the GSL. He is just as active as he's ever been. And he feels good, man. We know him as a very confident individual, but looking at his results, he's got all the right in the world to be confident.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up that season where he didn't make it out of the groups, because I think right the season before, he made like third place or something ridiculous in Europe, which just goes to show, like, his highs are very highs and his lows can be very low, which, yeah, when it comes to the mental battle of StarCraft 2, it's huge, man. Like, this game, it can be your best friend one day and your absolute worst enemy the next. And Lambo, when it comes down to it, he's just a damn good player, and he has to rely on his solid mechanics, solid fundamentals. A lot of people know him as a guy that knows his StarCraft through and through. I know his analysis is something that a lot of players kind of fall back to. A lot of players talk to him about how he feels about the game and such. And when it goes up against MaNa, this is kind of a must-win for him if he wants to finish top 2 in the group, which is what he should be aiming for, honestly.
This is, of course, a group that has Skillers and Gabe in it as well. And I think even Skillers is going to be very dangerous for Lambo. Gabe, a lot of people think that, well, Gabe is the favorite, right? Lambo's actually done very well recently against Hero Marine. It truly is a true 50-50, but Lambo actually kind of wins the biggest series more often. Like, Hero Marine can obviously always win in the quarterfinal or the semifinals of a weekly, but often when it's for all the marbles, I feel that Lambo is more than happy with the results that he's been able to get on the board against Hero Marine. So he won't just be looking at top 2, he wants top 1, because, I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves now. But if you think of the playoffs, you think of a Serral that's going to win his group, you think of Clem that wins his group, you think of Rainer that wins his group. So if you finish second, you're going to face one of these guys in the quarterfinals, and if you can avoid that, you want to avoid it. As the first Adept of MaNa is off to a good start, gets the drone, I mean, gets out of there as well, that's lovely.
It certainly is, and we'll be able to get down his third base as well. And, you know, not the craziest thing in the world, but it's something that's just like, hey, I'm off to a good start here. This is how I want the series to go. Gets the Oracle out, Lambo gets the Scout off in return. And yeah, MaNa's just, he's going with a very nice setup. Like, this shows me that he's comfortable playing a real game. I actually haven't seen too much of MaNa's PVZ in a while, and that's much fault to my own. I totally admit, guys. But when it comes to MaNa, if I think about unit types that he's good with, he's always been very good with a lot of Stalkers, which, you know, it's become the norm now in this matchup.
Yes. A question often is it double Oracle or triple Oracle? It seems like it's double Oracle for now. Lambo did manage to sneak in a relatively quick Evo Chamber, so I guess we're looking at +1 melee. Range attacks would surprise me here. The Oracles are on the other side of the map, but with 2 Adepts, it seems that MaNa's not too worried. And in an ideal world, you obviously find some drone damage. Now, ooh, that's a quick Baneling Nest as well. I have the feeling that Lambo wants to be a little aggressive here early on. This is one of these things where if MaNa picks up on it, he gets a couple of batteries, he actually gets in a good spot immediately. And I want to go back to his wall-off in the natural band, because I was surprised you didn't make fun of me for it, because I know you enjoy that. At first, it looked like a pretty ugly wall-off, but MaNa has complemented his wall off with a second gateway and now has a Stalker in the middle of all of it. So at this point, it's bulletproof. I feel like earlier the floodgates were wide open and a Baning bust, very random one, would have been absolutely devastating.
I mean, that wall off is a lot prettier than a lot of yours, Kevin. I know that, like, you go for the 300 IQ Albert Einstein, like, I'm gonna have 2 layers to my wall, and then all of a sudden it just gets, you know what I mean, where you go for the double layer kind of thing. But yeah, it looks pretty damn solid to me. There is a little bit of a gateway flood coming online, along with a Robo. We got the Blink on the way. We got the +1 on the way as well for both players. And Lambo, you know, he did tech up. It's not crazy just yet. 62 probes versus 59. The numbers are still growing for both sides. What do you see coming out next for either one of these?
I think Lambo will just continue doing what he's currently doing. I just made a little noise there because Lambo makes certain things in StarCraft that are very hard look incredibly easy. MaNa is a very good player, so he's always looking for openings with his oracles. He's active, he's mobile, and he wants to find a couple of stray drones or maybe a mineral line coming in from the right angle to actually pick off a few, despite the fact there are queens and sport crawlers. But Lambo's queen movement in this game has been very, very sexy. And if you are a Zerg player that wants to improve his queen defense against oracles, well, I think Lambo just kind of gave you the blueprint because he's making it look easy. We all know that it's not easy to not lose any drones, but other than that one drone he lost against that first Adept in the beginning of the game, he's lost nothing. And that is a lot easier said than done. So kudos to Lambo. He's got to be feeling good about how this game has gone so far. 7 minutes in, we've lost 1 drone. You love that as a Zerg.
You certainly do. This is the first little bit of eco damage that he's really taken here. And yeah, as you pointed out, much credit to Lambo, not through lack of trying for MaNa. MaNa, by the way, he's going for... Well, he's already got double forge, and he's finally getting some damage done with these oracles. I feel like MaNa was doing double forge style a long time before any other Protoss. Like, I do remember that final between him and Serral that I thought it was going to be an absolute bloodbath where Serral was going to destroy him, but MaNa did really well and made it like a 2-4 close thing. And yeah, he's just getting into his comfort zone this game, I feel.
And whenever people mention that, I just want to point out that on Lost and Found, he was winning, Ben. He was up 2-1. Game 4, Lost and Found, MaNa was winning until Sarah had that big run by. And that was indeed a good finals back then in Austin, I believe it was. But yeah, Lambo, just after I complimented him about not taking any damage, started taking some damage. The first few Banelings get absolutely nothing done. So MaNa's going to be kind of loving this, man, because of course the same can be said for MaNa's economy. Completely uncontested, 85 probes at the moment. Reiner's Protoss would approve of this. And he's starting to find some pickups here and there. The first Baneling's not getting anything done. This is all indeed very sexy by MaNa. Dude, now we need to be careful that we don't get swarmed on the high ground. He can't blink anymore. He cannot blink anymore. Obviously, blink cooldown is not ultra long, but that's still painful, man, because Stalkers are still pricey units.
Yeah, good chunk of damage, and Lambo's taken this time that these Lings got away here to make and yet another opening. MaNa would love to have a Stalker on the high ground there, just to kind of deny that from happening, but we've got big upgrades coming in for MaNa. He's going to have +2/+1 finishing along with that charge, but Lambo, +2 on Banelings. Now, that means they'll be able to one-shot probes, and it does stop those rocks from getting through, but this is the timing that Lambo was looking for.
Right now, I want to see more static defenses for MaNa, because I really think, the longer this goes, with these upgrades, these economies, the better it will get for the Protoss. At this point, it's pedal to the metal for Lambo of a lot of very basic Zerg units. At this point, the more cannons, the more batteries, the merrier. And at this point, he doesn't have too many static defenses. He has 1,000 minerals. I'd love to see a few more cannons, a few more batteries, and he's going to be absolutely bulletproof. As Lambo's already... No, Lambo, that was a mistake as he uses the Banelings to blow up the rocks. I can guarantee you that was not on purpose. He's going to try now as a few more Banelings come in. We have a Nova available as well. The first Nova blows up a couple of Lings and a few Zealots. Banelings are going to try to roll into the probes at the bottom side, but look at them. Stalkers at hold position, doing a very good job. This is all very well handled by MaNa.
Yeah, and look at that resources loss map. He's even dealing damage on the other side of the map, Kev, and yeah, he's playing really damn well. And those upgrades, they now two-shot the Zerglings as well. The Zerglings don't have any armor upgrades whatsoever. And MaNa, he survived a very scary moment in the game.
Yep, and without even too many cannons and batteries. Like, yeah, he had 2 cannons, 1 battery, but the units were just in the right spot. Obviously, Lambo making a bit of a boo-boo, running his Banelings into the destructible rocks. Lambo will probably fire up a hive in the next 10 seconds. There we go. Does fire it up immediately. But MaNa will be able to max out and actually have a pretty damn terrifying, very well upgraded army. This is a game, man. Lambo's gonna have to work for it.
He really has. He's probably going to be able to shut down this 5th base here, the attempt from MaNa, but Lambo maxed out. He needs to take fights right now.
Oh. On the next 400 minerals down the drain. It's the first real obvious error we've seen from MaNa, but MaNa's like, all right, you take out my Nexus, I'm going to go ahead and take out one of your hatcheries. As these Zealots have too much DPS, the Lynx cannot take them out in time. Look how long it takes for them Lynx to take out these Zealots, man. +2, +1 armor, and +2 armor is about to come online as well. Do we have an observer, MaNa? He has 1 ops, but he's not cleaning up any creep. It is actually in the center of the map. Yeah, Bar Prism on the way. This is kind of it, man. Like, ideally, MaNa forces a potential game-deciding fight before Vipers are out. And if the Vipers are not out, good luck getting close to those Disruptors, because that's going to get very difficult for Lambo.
I love when you say game-deciding fight, Kevin, because I'll never forget Gabe saying it to you like 4 times or something about game-deciding fight. And now it's become part of your repertoire for real. But whoa, that is so many Archons. Like, I didn't realize that he built up such a force here. There's only 6 Ravagers, 10 Roaches on the field. Obviously, Banelings do okay against Archons, weirdly enough, with all the splash damage. But Lambo's just buying time, and he badly needs it. And this, what a messy little engagement going on.
Yep, we had 1 Nova connecting with a couple of Banes. That's also a very good Nova as it connects with Banelings and the Roaches. This time around, MaNa did not cancel the Nexus again, by the way, man. That's a 2nd kill. It's 800 minerals that MaNa has lost. Now, he doesn't have a lack of minerals. He still has plenty. He has +2, +3. He's finishing up, and he's getting right where he wants to be way before Vipers are out. Those first few Archons, they're gonna fall, but if 1 or 2 of these Novas can connect, this could be it. Where's that Prism? Where's that big round of Stalker Warpins that we are looking for? Or a few more Archons we may as well, as Lambo's gonna absolutely send it here with his Banelings. Wants to get that Disruptor and kind of gets a lot of damage on it. I mean, MaNa's arm supply is dwindling, but he's got the Prism here. He can reinforce. There are still Zealots on the left side as well. And this is starting to look really, really promising, especially with +3 coming online in the next few seconds. Banelings counter-attacking, by the way. Ooh, that's big, that's big. That's a lot of probes.
Oh, no. 28 probes in the blink of an eye. Lambo now gets a 50 supply lead. And I mean, these are still some big juicy boys. That is front door, but 13 Stalkers warped in at once, 13 Gateways alive, and 3-2 finished up. These are very big upgraded Protoss units, and Lambo, he's getting so much eco damage done. They're both batting each other in the face and so much damage. But who? Can MaNa still make this work? Can Lambo hold on?
I mean, these are 1-0 Roaches against Stalkers and Archons with +3 and +2 armor. Obviously not shields for the Archons, so that armor doesn't mean too much. But I don't know if Lambo can clean this up, man. These Roaches are not gonna get a good fight at all. There are a couple of Zealots fighting Spine Crawlers now as well. Sometimes Spines are good, but Zealots is well upgraded. They're gonna do good. MaNa knows that he lost a lot of probes, so he just needs to keep on going. But I think he's doing it. I think we are looking at a little upset here. Stalkers can blink forward 1 more time. That Prism, as long as the Prism stays alive, we wipe in a few more units. We should be golden here for the Polish Protoss. Few extra Zealots show up, and Lambo, losing 50 drones, is forced to tap out. GG. What a very solid first game here by MaNa, man. That was impressive.
It was really impressive, actually. Like, I'm going to be real with you. Like, Lambo didn't play a bad game. We were praising his defense and what he was doing early on, but MaNa was patient. Like, he used those oracles like you should. Like, even though they're not getting damage, you just wait and wait and wait and keep on trying, and eventually it's gonna happen if your opponent isn't keeping tabs. And even though Lambo was still dealing with it all very, very well, just a few little things there. Like, you can talk about that mistake of blowing up maybe 6 or so Banes on those rocks. We're definitely like, oh, but MaNa still handled everything super damn well. You mentioned it, the whole position on the Stalkers. There was the fight was huge, right? And he handled it all very, very well. Like, that's ridiculously hard to do.
It felt like you needed 3 screens to truly see all 3 fights happening. But yeah, that first big attack of all the Banes, all the Lynx, Roaches, and Ravagers, that's normally where a Zerg player like Lambo finds a lot of damage, takes out a couple of key units, saves most of his expensive units like the Ravagers. Then he goes up to Hive, he keeps his bases safe on his side of the map, and we're looking at a Protoss with like 48 army supply, well upgraded units, but then the Zerg is already closing in on 100 again. You're like, yeah, it's not over, but it's not looking great. But this time around, MaNa basically took no damage there at all. Only later on started taking damage from the Banelings, but at that point, he was ready to attack because he had all the upgrades, all the Archons, couple of Disruptors. He played really good, man. He was motivated for this DreamHack. He was fired up. I had him as well on our media day, and it was always refreshing to hear how this man, who's been doing it for so long, almost 11 years non-stop of StarCraft 2, he's still feeling it, he's still passionate, and he wants to show you guys that he still got it. This is Team Liquid's MaNa.
And Lambo currently 0-1 down, probably not where he saw himself. Playing for the team Shopify Rebellion. It is Lambo. I think I said Lambo like 2 or 3 times there, but yeah, I'm still just very impressed by the level of play in that first game. I knew Lambo was going to bring it, and I know MaNa can bring it. It's just he did it his way as well. Like, obviously, Hero popularized this very gateway-centric style with upgrades galore, but MaNa, yeah, I brought up that final against Serral where he did do this double upgrade style, but it's so nice when a meta that you're very comfortable with comes back into fashion. And MaNa plays so good with Stalkers, always has done. He's a lethal force, but a lot of this was just textbook StarCraft. Like, I'm taking damage, but I'm going to send off some Zealots to go deal damage elsewhere while defending. And he just did it really damn well.
That was definitely key, right? Still finding the APM to grab a couple of Zealots. Don't feel like you need every single unit at home to defend. And that obviously is going to force Lambo to not rally all the reinforcements to the other side of the map and makes it a bit easier for you to stabilize. But I think the biggest standout point for me in that game from MaNa was just how good his probe production was. And he's always been good at producing probes because, you know, you mentioned it, Brood War into StarCraft. He's been building probes for as long as he can block pretty much. But 85 probes before he started losing a few. Like I said, Rainer's Protoss would be proud of it. And even the best Protoss players in the world have mentioned that the way that Rainer approaches that matchup from the Protoss side actually makes sense. And it's hard to do because if you are playing, you're so worried. You're like, okay, I'm being too greedy right now. I need more units. I know the attack is coming. I cannot just keep on building probes. You find yourself sometimes hard stuck at that 66 to 68. But if you then lose 20, suddenly your entire economy is crippled, right? You're down to the 40s, and you're like, okay, what am I going to do with 40 workers against in the Zerg with 80 plus drones? But MaNa just never stopped. And he actually protected them for a very long time until he was ready to move out. That obviously makes you more vulnerable at home. But at that point, it didn't matter too much anymore because he already had all the upgrades and the crazy powerful big army that he was looking for.
Now, we're obviously on a very different map here. It's still quite large, and it's got a lot of battles that can happen here, there, and everywhere. What do you think MaNa has to truly worry about on a map like this?
I don't know. I think it's just going to be more of the same, man. Like, why would you fix that? If that is the standard right now, right? The double Oracle into gateways, into forges. I don't think he's going to do anything too different. I think it might be a little bit harder to get those wall-offs up. We saw, obviously, the cute little wall-off on the left bottom side of course.
That was a sick wall-off, by the way. One pylon that was defended by the terrain as well, like of the cliff kind of thing. And it was like, yeah, you can't attack that. And the 4 gateways, yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, so maybe that's one thing that he has to worry about, that on this map, it'd be a little bit harder to be as greedy as he was in the previous one, because you're not going to get the wall-ups up that easily, but we'll see. We will just see. Okay, losing the 2 adepts here is not a lovely start. Nice juke there. He's going to be able to save one of them, I think. Yeah, unfortunately, the second one did go down there from MaNa, but all right. No, we'll see.
I mean, those Lings does keep this Oracle back at home, but the Oracle doesn't really mind being back at home at this stage. It's kind of one of its purposes to make sure that third can go up. So it is 1 Oracle on the map, 2nd Oracle being made, 3rd going down. So far, very similar game by both these players. How do you feel about, because from watching a lot of Serral's CVPs, he's been going for like the range upgrades and stuff first, whereas nearly every other Zerg out there goes for the melee, which I'm always like, well, Serral's been making it work and doing really well with it. Why doesn't every other Zerg hop on board? Or it's just,
I just think that Zerg players feel it's very hard to find economic damage against this opening as a Protoss, because Protoss has a lot of map vision, flies around with the Oracles, Pulsar Beam can be very great. So the only way that you can truly get on top of Protoss economies is the moment you have +2 and Baneling speed. I think that's why a lot of Zergs just prefer going for that, because that's the way they feel they can better down that crazy, greedy Protoss style that is the meta at the moment.
It's going to be interesting to see what both sides come to when it's like, okay, is this the best way to play? Is this not the best way? What's the weaknesses and strengths and stuff? Because, yeah, ZVP is Really exciting, especially compared to what it used to be. I love the fact he kept one Oracle back at home just for this. He did lose a few Adepts. He's going to get quite a bit of damage done here. He makes the drones move with the Adepts, and that is already a lot of juicy damage.
Yep, and those Adepts are still just going for it. So it's 9 drones in total. Follow-up is going to be Blink, but there's one key difference here for MaNa in this game and the previous game, and that is that he's making a lot of Oracles, Ben. He's got 3. Oracle number 4 is about to come out. I am surprised that it took him this long, by the way, to get a pylon near the 3rd Nexus. How often do you see that this base is often or almost fully saturated, and we don't have a single pylon or a battery there, but... yeah, it seems with all the Oracles, MaNa's not too worried about it. It's almost like he's inviting Lambo, like, hey, man, make more links. I've got plenty of Oracles anyway. And Lambo now drops this Spire, maybe worried that MaNa is going to keep building Oracles forever, that it's like 7 or even 8 Oracles, and that just Ravages alone are going to be too vulnerable. But this doesn't look bad for MaNa at all. Like, once more, pretty solid start. Triple Oracle is going to fight the Queens, fights the Queen with the most amount of energy, saves the Oracle. MaNa is just finding a second youth over here.
It's actually really cool. Yeah, the old man is making it happen, Kev. Like, I even like that one Oracle got ridiculously low, and he's like, you know what? I'll make another Oracle. I'll keep that one back at home, so if you do a Ling run by, it will deal with it, because there's nothing that can shoot up right now for you that could be aggressive at least. And yeah, went aggressive again with the 3 healthy Oracles. And that, we were talking about wall-offs, Kev. That is, that's, okay, that's starting to look a bit like a Roddy wall.
I mean, it's harder, right? On this map, you ask me what it should be looking for, what's going to be different. Well, that is different. That Nexus is going to be a bit exposed. There are a couple Stalkers here to buy time. And the Oracles fly back. They activate Pulsar Beam. MaNa does not know, though, about the Spire, right? I kind of feel that ideally you want to be a bit more aggressive, because Lambo right now is pretending that he can be aggressive, but actually he doesn't want to be aggressive at all. He just wants MaNa to stay at home, because you don't want to make Ling Muda to fight Stalkers on your side of the map at the edge of creep. You want those Mudas to fly into bases, kill a couple workers, force out a lot of static defenses, and then swallow up the army. It's unfortunate for MaNa that he does not know yet it's Mutalisk, and I really see nothing that indicates to me that he's even thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Robo Bay, that's more anti-ground. Granted, he does already have a lot of Stalkers, but he hasn't seen any gas. Oh, these Mutas being revealed there. That is huge, and that is absolutely critical for Lambo. I just saw his head kind of tilt back a little bit, revealing those Mutas in the middle of the map, and that isn't what he wanted.
Nope, we don't have any static defenses here, though. Zealot, Stalkers, and Oracles. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine, because you can't really ignore the Oracles. Well, by the time you kill all these Oracles with the Mudas, then most of your links have disappeared. So MaNa is going to crank out Phoenixes. He's got 1. He's going to drop a second Stargate at this point. One Phoenix is obviously not going to stand a chance. We do have a cannon and a battery there. So that was actually a cannon, so maybe he was sort of anticipating it was Mudas after all. First Phoenix gets picked off immediately, but a nice forward blink means that, sure, MaNa loses a Phoenix, but at the same time, Lambo only loses 1 Muta. I thought it was going to be more than that.
It is quite a committal to these Mutas. Like, you know, the +1 weapons is on the way. We're at 21 Mutas are still being made. Lambo wants to deal damage and kind of needs to deal damage, but it is going to be hard for MaNa to try and hold everything going on. But there is a window where MaNa's upgrades aren't necessarily super kicking in yet, and that is a lot of Muta.
It is a crazy amount of Muta, but we all know how Mutalisk do in this matchup. Eventually, they will fall off. And sure, the supplies right now look promising for the man who was the big favorite. 76% of Twitch chat believed that he was going to win this series. We all 3 thought that he was going to win this series. But this really doesn't look very hot at all. He's going to try to transition now into Hydras, but we have no Hydra upgrades, right? We have to keep that in mind. So it's not like we're going to get Lurkers anytime soon. And if MaNa just gets a whole bunch of Phoenix with any Impulse Crystals, maybe Shield Battery Overcharge here would be sexy. I really wouldn't hate it. Well, the cannon goes down, the Shield Battery goes down. Where are the Stalkers? Here they are. Couple Phoenix went down, but we still have plenty. There is the Shield Battery Overcharge, as the Mutas are just going to try to fight the Stalkers, but this is expensive. It's obviously not going too poorly, but this is very, very pricey for Lambo.
I think it's working, though, Kev. Like, I really do. He's dealing damage elsewhere. That's a lot of cannons, and these Mutas, they're actually trading pretty damn well against these Stalkers. Oh, man, and look at Lambo's eco behind this. 95 drones on the map.
Yeah, it was about as well as he was ever going to do that's for sure. 15 Mulas have gone down, 4 Phoenixes and 12 Stalkers. Lambo is transitioning into Hydras, and Hydra's speed is getting close to being online. Couple Zealots gonna run into Banelings here. That's, well, actually that could have gone worse for MaNa. There's a couple of the Zealots to survive, and now at least he knows about these morphing Banelings. Like, it's really not even that bad to just keep building Phoenixes here, which I know is ironic coming from me, but Phoenixes are going to be good against Hydras in small numbers, and at this point, MaNa doesn't have the crazy amount of Hydras yet. As Mutas are going to try to get lucky in the main base, the Oracles with Pulsar Beam, picking up quite a few of those Hydras. Now the Phoenixes are here, the Mutas are going to show up in the main base. Lambo is looking for a lot of damage, and that's a lot of probes, and that's Banelings getting awfully close. Phoenix is saving a lot of the workers. That was very sexy defense. In the main base, the last few Mutalisks are going to try to make the difference, but I think this is the last time we will see Mutas, because these Mutas are going to get hunted down by all them Phoenix with any Impulse Crystals. And now the real question is, did Lambo do enough with them? It looks promising, but he's not there yet.
He's not out of the woods, or he's not at the finish line just yet. Like, Charge is coming online now. We'd have good upgrades for MaNa. The work account is looking pretty damn amazing for Lambo as well. The one thing that's maybe not super on his side is the fact that he's only got +2 melee, but you can do a lot at 2 melee, and that is kind of what you want to get going. And he's just going to open up the map. And MaNa, he's very confined to these 4 bases. Lambo's looking real sharp this game.
Yep, but Lambo needs to do more, because if he waits a little bit longer and Colossus come out, Colossus are going to be amazing against every single unit that Lambo currently has. And Lambo knows that he needs to do more. Phoenix is lifting Banelings. It looks kind of funny. I thought we had a battery overcharge. Yes, we do. We have a stasis trap, but it's a bit too far to the left, and that means that the floodgates are open, and Lambo, his Banelings, will once more connect with all the probes here, and that is all that he really needs before the Colossus even sees the light of day. GG gets called. That was a really cool game by Lambo, because it wasn't easy. He truly had to work for it. Smooth transition out of the Mutas into the Hydras, and never giving MaNa the time to truly stabilize. And when MaNa finally invested in all the Stargates and any Impulse Crystals, that Fleet Beacon, all those Phoenixes, it felt that the Phoenixes weren't useful anymore, because the Hydra count went from 4 or 5 to 18, and that's just too much for Phoenix to deal with.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think those Mutas, when they got in that fight and just started dealing damage, that's where it all started going awry for MaNa. Because it's like losing that many Stalkers and the Phoenix, where you really want to shut down the Mutas in one fell swoop. But those Mutas got revealed early. They still got to trade pretty damn well. And even though there was a few things going okay for MaNa, it was like the stasis happening on the Lings on the far right while that was going on. Did you see that shield battery overcharge? It like got locked on and then blew up immediately as well. And it was, yeah, just I think Lambo handled that map very nicely, because he saw that massive wall off at the top and he was like, you know what? Let's just go where you don't have a true wall off just yet and just keep on hammering it. And yeah, use the Mutas to deal the damage on the inside, got his ground army to kind of scoop away at the outside. Nicely handled.
And it was cool how the final time that the Mutas were going to be impactful in the game, he waited until MaNa would bring the Phoenixes over to the bottom right side to save the 4th base. And on that moment, Lambo's like, all right, Mutas, here you go, one last time. And they killed 10 plus workers. So that was a lot of fun. What do you see, Ben?
I started thinking for a second, Kevin, my bad brain worked, and I was like, oh my God, 2 pros marching out. And then I was like, mate, that's a standard opening. I started thinking about cannons and all that, and I was like, oh my God, that'd be so cool. But spawning over in the bottom left, 1-1 apiece, playing for Team Liquid, it is MaNa.
I was looking at the minimap, I was like, what is this, Ben? Like, what's happening?
I was hoping it didn't get picked up on the microphone, that I went...
No, you were very excited about the early probe scout and potential hatch block. That's okay, man. The hatch block is a thing to get excited over. In the top right side of Inside and Out, we're looking at the main base of the man who deserves some style points for making the Mutas look good in that matchup. This is Shopify Rebellion's Lambo.
Inside Out now, obviously a bit of a smaller map. In fact, this is the smallest map of the 3 that have played so far, and I'm not even sure about who it favors these days, because obviously before, when you had those maps like Jagannatha, or in fact, I'm going with Jagannatha, okay? It was like, as long as it gets to the late game, it feels like it's Zerg favored, even though it always kind of got to the late game. But nowadays, how do you feel about the small map versus the big map when it comes to this matchup?
I mean, it can sometimes favor the Protoss, right? If you get off to a good start, Zerg players will absolutely hate the fact that the maps are a bit smaller. Because if they lose drones early on to whether it's the first adept or the first two adepts or the first two oracles, they feel that they need to compensate for that. But then the Stalkers will show up and they're going to push back your creep very early on. And creep is just so important for these Roachling, Ravager, Bane composition armies. So it really just comes down to who has the cleanest start. But things can snowball a lot more extreme on the tiny maps than it does on the bigger ones. I think it goes with us.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because like the Protosses kind of took the tip out of the Zerg handbook where it's like, okay, you just expand a lot, right, and make all those probes. And you saw Reyna making that transition to his Protoss where he's like, yeah, I'm just going to play Zerg with Protoss basically. But yeah, the bases are fewer. That does allow the Zerg to kind of bounce from side to side pretty nicely, but there's chokes, there's lots of destructible debris on the map that you have to deal with before that can happen. But so far, we're seeing the Stargate and yet again, but that is no surprise. It has been a very good opening for Protosses in this matchup for a long time.
Yeah, this could be the map though, where maybe we see something different, right? Where it's Stargate into Twilight Council, Resonating Glaive Adept. It's still somewhat popular. Sometimes you see a weird Stargate into a 2-base all-in. Hero has done a couple of very random ones with like a pylon on the other side of the map, slow warp-ins, where he just warps in Zealots that don't even have +1. And it shouldn't work, but sometimes it does work because the Zerg players don't take it too serious. I don't know, like getting 4 bases up on this map could be a bit more complicated for MaNa. I feel that he has all the reason in the world to feel pretty confident in his macro game, right? Like if he got a super lucky game 1 victory and got absolutely demolished in game 2, I'd be like, all right, let's just roll the dice and let's try to get greedy and creative and do something like a 2-base all-in. But I think MaNa just looks at it like, man, I'm playing good today. My macro game is looking all right. Why would you change it now?
And yeah, like I'm excited about what happens in this third game between them because so far they've been very well matched and making for some good. Oh, that's nice link play, getting that probe. But the first Oracle from MaNa, he's playing with it aggressively, and this isn't something that he was doing in the games before. Nice saving by Lambo, and again, he's been pretty damn on point with dealing with these Oracles in the series.
Be very sad if he lets that Eva Chamber finish up, though. That'd be a problem.
It'd be a bad place to have it, and it's still going here.
No. Lambo. No, I cannot. But no, that cannot happen.
It's happening.
That cannot happen.
It's
no.
happening.
Oh my God. That cannot happen. No,
well,
Lambo. Oh my goodness. Oh
that's,
my goodness.
I mean, that's going to mess up your mining pretty hard. Like that back mineral there, you have to go all the way around. I'm just waiting to see Lambo when he realizes it, man.
Yeah, I was looking at it as well, but I feel like he must know by now. Yeah, there we go. Oh man, that's uncomfortable. Fortunately, he does have a decent amount of links, because sometimes, I mean, you're already losing a drone, you're losing a decent amount of mining time here, but fortunately for Lambo, the link count was somewhat decent. I can't believe that this happened, man. I never see that happen.
I never see it happen, no. Like, Zergs are usually the most on point about that stuff, you know? Like, they treat their drones like they're babies, and it's just like, oh, you see it's, oh, wow, very quick charge.
Yep, M+1. Which means that Lambo really needs to get a Roach Warren up in the near future. Or maybe a Baning Nest. Like, sometimes Banes can be fine too, but that's a bit more hit or miss. But against this kind of stuff, Lambo's playing greedy, man. He's going all the way up to like 66 drones. He's dropping another Evo chamber. I don't know if he's thinking about the stuff that MaNa is actually doing at the moment, but MaNa is going to be very aggressive. He only has 49 probes. I think maybe that Ling will give him the heads up, but still, I don't see a Roach Warren. We need. Oh,
no, he's got.
Okay.
Don't worry. I've made Kevin. I got excited at the probe scout, you know, like. But yeah, we do see Templar Archives on the way. A lot more gateways on the way as well. So it's going to be up to what.
That's important, though. If he didn't have a Roach Warren here, he'd be in so much trouble, but it's good that he has. I think the Roaches will hatch in time, so I want to say crisis averted, but Zealots can sometimes still be very feisty, especially because the Roaches are obviously coming in from 3 different bases at this point. Zealots are going to take the first fight. I love that transfuse on the Queen that's exposed, so the Queen can just be tanky. MaNa decides against it, like that is just not going to work. It'll be a bit of a donation. We could maybe unload the Zealots on the low ground, find a few drones, but I think MaNa was hoping for a whole lot more than he's getting at the moment.
And I tell you what, that spine crawler on the low ground as well, lovely positioning on it. And it finished just in time for that to kind of move over to that 4th or 3rd base of his. MaNa, there isn't a 4th base on the way for Lambo, which is definitely nice. But look at that army count, Kev. Like,
yeah.
It's huge. I'm actually very worried for MaNa in the next few minutes, and he's worried as well. Starts up that second Robo, gets the Robo Bay down. He has to get out some chunky boys to deal with this amount of roaches, and he's supply block behind all this.
I'm afraid that Lambo is not going to give him that time, man. Like, obviously, if MaNa can make sure that this game goes on for another 2.5 minutes, life is going to be all right. First disruptor is out, but I think ideally you want like 3 or 4 disruptors to even be allowed to dream here about holding. Lambo has done this quite a few times, even very recently in one of the games that I casted of him on the Friday night. We had a crazy game against Skillers, where at one point I thought it's impossible for Skillers, then I was like it's possible, and then in the end Lambo just had a bit too much, because this is very committed. He creates a little bit of a German autobahn with all of his creep, but MaNa's gonna need big Novas. That's just what it is, right? We need cannons, batteries, and really big Novas.
MaNa keeps getting supply blocked here, man. Like that warp in as well. It was only 1 zealot, but I think he wanted it to be more, but he's supply blocked. And still, I don't see any pylon in production right now. This is really detrimental.
We're gonna drop Creep here as well. That's gonna allow the Queens to transfuse. We need a big Nova out of that one disruptor that's inside of the War Prism at this point. MaNa is going to drop it like it's hot. He's gonna fire in the hole and has potential. Not a bad shot, honestly, to start things off with. We could use battery overcharge. Archons are obviously absolutely loving that battery overcharge live, but the disruptor gets picked off. That is very unfortunate.
It definitely is. And I mean, right now that battery overcharge did last the whole time. It kept alive these big glowy boys, but MaNa, what can he do? I mean, this is so much Zerg at his front door. The Biles, they're trying to keep the Archons from shooting. MaNa's doing a good job of juggling stuff, but that Zerg supply just isn't really going down.
Nope, another disruptor, only fired at Queens there, doesn't get the kill, gets picked off. It seems like this one is all over. Lambo, relentless, aggressive, and wanted to get the kill with this attack, and he gets the job done. He does this often on Inside and Out, and the supply just explodes. GG gets caught.